Hello, hello. Um,
Good evening, Mr. Furnow.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Welcome to the December meeting of the Antelope Valley Union High School Board. Good afternoon. Please be advised that the Board of Trustees are participating in this regular board meeting, December 11th, 2020, with teleconferencing. The meeting is being recorded and all actions will be taken by a roll call vote. I will now turn over the meeting to Dr. David Vera, who will administer the oath of office to Ms. Danita Wynn.
Thank you, Ms. McGrady. This is the oath of office for the governing board member of the Antelope Valley Joint Union High School District. Ms. Wynn, may I ask if you raise your right hand, please? And repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Danita Wynn,
Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
And I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
And congratulations,
Thank you.
welcome back, and I look forward to working with you once again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations, dude.
I will now turn this over to Dr. Steve Radford, who will be giving the oath of office to Ms. Jill McGrady.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
I, Jill McGrady, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask board members to respond to the following questions as I call your name. Are you able to hear our proceedings on your end? Mr. Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Perrell,
Yes.
Dr. Ruffin,
Yes.
Mr. Rush,
Yes.
Ms. McGrady, yes, and Mrs. Nguyen. Mrs. Nguyen. We're going to check and see, make sure that we have a connection. Bear with us just for a moment. While we're waiting, we could go ahead and have the American flag come on.
Yeah.
Thank you. But give us just a minute while we're waiting. Let's check this.
Miss McGrady,
Yes.
before you do that, I wanted to say welcome and congratulations to you and Miss Nguyen. And while we're doing that, can I request a change to the board meeting before we go forward?
Sorry, I didn't catch the last part you said.
I was requesting a change to the agenda before we go forward to take off item 9C, Harrison Associates resigned, so there's no need to vote on it.
Yeah, I don't think we can change the agenda before we start.
We have been able to do that in the past board meetings to change the agenda because there's no need.
Okay,
to
it's
vote on
very difficult for us to hear you. So if you could get closer to your microphone.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's better. That's better.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me? We have
I
done
can
it before.
now.
In the,
Yes.
Thank you so much. Like I said before, welcome to you and Mrs. Nguyen. Congratulations. And I was saying that we have done it before where we have changed the agenda before the meeting to make modifications because there's no need to vote on it since Harrison Associates has already resigned. There's no vote.
Okay, make a motion.
I just put it out there to make that motion for the body.
Okay, is there a second to the motion that Dr. Ruffin just made?
I'll second it.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded that we remove 9C from the agenda. Board, do we have any comments?
What is the what's the difference between what's going on here? What's the difference between the two?
The Harrison Associates already resigned. There's no need to terminate because they've already resigned. There's no contract in motion.
All right. So voting on 9C would make no difference.
There's nothing to vote on. There's no contract.
Ms. McGrady, would you like me to comment on that? This is Jay Furno.
Yes, please. Yes, please do.
I would say that there is a distinction, a difference between what Mr. Harris has done and what the board is being sought to do. Mr. Harris terminated the contract, but under the terms of the contract, the board is actually being asked to do two additional things that Mr. Harris has not offered to do, which is to return all of the district's property and to forward any new matters and ongoing matters to Dr. Vieira.
Thank you very much.
So it is important for us to keep it on the agenda and to take a vote on it when we come to it.
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yes, ma'am. Rightfully so. According to our board bylaws, we're only to vote on what's on the agenda, and the other two matters that Mr. Furno spoke on are not matters that are on the agenda for tonight.
Actually, they are. If you pull that up and read it, what he's referring to is what the information on C.
Yeah, I read it very thoroughly, Ms. McGrady, and those
Okay,
other
well,
two
you know
matters
what?
are not on C.
Okay, then you
Thank
vote
you so
how
much.
you feel.
Thank you.
You need to vote how you feel accordingly, and the rest of us will need to do the same. Mr.
Thank you.
Johnson, how do you vote?
No.
Ms. Perrell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush, how do you vote?
No.
No. Ms. McGrady votes no. Ms. Nguyen, how do you vote?
I vote no.
No. Okay, so we will not be removing it from the agenda. That's three no votes, 2 yes votes. Mr. Johnson voted no. So we
Thank
are
you.
at the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would stand and put your hand over your heart and follow me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we are at number 2. I believe we have a comment from the community on this board agenda item. Is that correct?
That's correct. Tonight we have one comment on 2A. The comment is from Raquel Amaya. In regards to the board reorganization, I think it's important that board officers be those who actually attend meetings. As such, I think that Jill McGrady, John Rush, and Danita Wynn should fill those roles in whatever order makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So as required by Education Code, board officers are to be elected annually. At this time, nominations and election of officers are in order. The election of the president for the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees is asked to nominate and elect the president of the Board of Trustees. So the floor is open for nominations.
I would like to nominate Jill McGrady for president, please.
Okay, thank you. Any other nominations? Okay, may I have a motion?
I made the motion.
Thank you. Sorry. And a
I
second?
I second. This is
Okay.
Donita.
Thank you. Ms. Nguyen seconds it. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
And board, Ms. Pearl, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Dr. Ruffin? Dr. Ruffin, how do you vote?
No.
No. Mr. Rush, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes. And Ms.
Yes.
McGrady votes yes. Mrs. Nguyen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that passes. So with 4-1 with a student board member voting yes. We are at the election of the vice president. The Board of Trustees is asked to nominate and elect the vice president of the Board of Trustees. We are now open for nominations.
Miss McGrady, I would like to nominate John Rush.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other nominations? Okay, well, we'll take that as a motion from Ms. Nguyen. I will be happy to second that. And so do we have any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Oh, aye. Thank you. Ms. Pearl, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. McGrady votes aye. And Ms. Nguyen?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. So that passes 4-1 with student board member voting yes. The Board of Trustees is asked to nominate and elect the clerk for the Board of Trustees. The floor is open for nominations.
I'd like to nominate Danita Wynn for position of clerk.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Rush, that would be the motion. We need a second. I will second that. And do we have any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. McGrady? Aye. Ms. Nguyen?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 4-1 with student board member voting yes. Okay, we are at the yearly calendar of the regular board meetings. The Board of Trustees, oh, excuse me, I believe we had 2 messages from the public.
That's correct. There's 2 comments from the public tonight for item 2E. The first is from Christina Brown. Like me, many members of the public are happy that the board has returned to an earlier start in Wednesday meetings. 2 years ago, when the board majority voted to change to late evenings on Thursdays for Dr. Ruffin's personal convenience, They did not realize that they were unleashing public outrage and drawing attention to their circle of secrecy. Now that we are in a pandemic and the board doesn't have to meet in person, the teleconference board meeting should at least allow us to see the board members where they are participating from. When Mr. Davis was participating from his home state of Arizona, he had his camera on. Other school districts have their cameras on or allow people to come in person. Why aren't board members turning on their cameras so that the public can observe the meeting as opposed to just listening? Mrs. Ruffin was caught with her mic on yelling at Mrs. Perrell for not seconding her motion during a meeting last September. We don't know if they were in the same room or texting each other, as Ms. Perrell mentioned in a more recent meeting. Why are they being allowed to keep up the secrecy? The meetings are supposed to be open to the public. Since the public can't be at the meeting because of COVID, we have the right to observe what is going on. We have the right to see our elected officials while they are discussing and voting on the agenda. Hashtag board turn on your cameras. The next comment is from Adriana Escobar. As discussion of the calendar is resuming, I would like to say that I hope to see things move back to Wednesday at 5 p.m. I have a student who occasionally presents and attends meetings, and having them on Flex Wednesday schedules is much preferred for students, as well as doing them earlier gives students a chance to get home at a reasonable hour for early classes the next morning. We tried meetings later for 2 years. Very few commuters ever showed up. It was a fun experiment, but the data doesn't support the continuation of such. Similarly, no justification was ever offered for why the switch to Thursday when the district for years has offered Flex Wednesdays to better accommodate meetings.
Okay, thank you. The Board of Trustees is asked to adopt the yearly calendar specifying date, time, and place of each regular meeting through December 2021. May I have a motion?
Motion.
I believe that was
I'll
Ms.
second
Nguyen.
it. I'll
Okay,
second it.
was that Ms. Nguyen and Ms. Perrell?
That's Dr. Ruffin.
Okay, and so Dr. Ruffin and Ms. Perrell?
Yes.
Okay, who made the motion?
Dr. Ruffin made the motion and
Okay.
I seconded it.
Thank you, thank you. Let me get that written down. And any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it's important that the board considers that this is a bedroom community with approximately 90% of the residents commuting out of the area for work, with over 78% of the students being Black and Hispanic who make up this district, and the employees of this district are the third largest company in this area. I believe it's important that we take in consideration the parents and the families that provide the teachers and the staff monthly paychecks as we make decisions about what happens to their children during times where they do not get to be included in the decision making. Lancaster School District's regular meeting is at 6 p.m. Closed session starts at 5 p.m. Palmdale City Council's meeting starts at 6 p.m. Eastside School District's regular board meeting starts at 6 p.m. Westside School District's regular board meeting starts at 6 p.m. Lancaster City Council meeting starts at 6:30 p.m. Keppel School District regular meeting starts at 6 p.m. We talk about equity on paper here, and we do not live by it as a body. We make decisions that feed our personal interests, not the interests of the greater good. I am glad that the community will get to hold the board accountable for what they say it stands for. Serving the entire Antelope Valley, not just the selected zip codes, inconveniences, and times that would allow them to attend plays or attend to their children, yet consider other people's children, like author Lisa Del Pitt speaks about in her work on cultural conflict in the classroom as well. I am suggesting we start closed session at 5 p.m. And I also am suggesting that we start our board meetings at 6 p.m. Next, what is important about the 10 a.m. times on June the 9th and the 14th and July the 14th? And why are we meeting twice in June?
We're meeting twice because of budget. We have to have an open meeting on the budget, and then we have to come back and vote on it. And the 10 a.m. is because we're in summertime. summer school. Any other questions or comments?
Yes. Are there considerations for opportunities to have meetings for workshops? Meetings on climate of growing intolerance, on board decorum? Is there any consideration of that in this meeting? I know we have been said that we are a board that does not consider Robert Rules of Order. This is the only board I've ever been on that doesn't consider Robert Rules of Order. Is there any opportunities for this board to consider intolerance and also board decorum for workshops?
Absolutely. It's not built in here, but I think you're referring to is partly our governance, which we typically do in January, or because of the pandemic, we may try to go in February. I don't know. We'll have to get a board consensus to do that. Also, there's a potential to do some workshops and some work study kinds of things that we could come together as a board and try to grow together. I think that's an excellent idea, that we work together as a board with all 5 of us working together. So those are things that we could decide on, that we could come together and say, let's do this whatever month we want to do it.
This is the time right now as a body, we could plan right now to say, we can plan 3 of them and put them right here on this board meeting as we're planning 3 or 2, and we can also right now discuss the time. It looks like from the research that I did, almost every school district in this valley is having meetings at 6 o'clock to accommodate parents, and Palmdale City Council is having their meeting at 6. Lancaster City Council is having their meeting at 6:30. It looks like we would be the only entity having our meeting at 5 o'clock. And that's, I rest.
Does anyone have anything else, any other discussion?
Ms. McGrady, I hope, yes, this is Danita Wynn.
Thank you.
I hope you'll excuse my questions, but I have been away for a while. Has anyone discussed the meeting dates and times with staff, with teachers and students to get their input?
I did. I reached out to actually presidents of both unions, and I talked to Kathy Calvert in charge of ICC, and I also talked to Elijah Johnson, and overwhelmingly they asked for Wednesdays at 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
As Ms. McGrady says, I've spoken to many constituents in ICC, and the most favored among students is a 5 o'clock Wednesday start time.
Okay. Any other discussion that we haven't already heard? Okay, Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Ms. Wynn?
Aye.
Aye. So that passes 4-1 with the student board member voting yes. We are now at F. This is to the board appoints the superintendent as secretary to the board of trustees. May I have a motion?
Motion.
I'll
Okay,
second.
it was Mr. Rush, and I'm not sure who the second one was.
Myself, Amanda Pearl.
Was it? Ms. Perrell? Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Ms. Wynn?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 4-1 with the student board member voting yes. The Board of Trustees is asked to select their representative to the Los Angeles County School Trustees Association. We're open for nominations. I'd like to nominate Danita Wynn.
Second.
Do we have any other nominations?
No. Sorry.
No? Okay, that was a second, Mr. Rush.
Yes.
Okay, and any discussion? Okay, Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye, Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes, Ms. McGrady, yes, and Ms. Nguyen?
Aye.
Aye, so that is actually 5-0. It passes with student board member voting yes. We are at H. The Board of Trustees is asked to select a voting representative to elect members of the Los Angeles County Committee on School District Organization. The floor is open for nominations. I'd like to nominate Danita Nguyen. Are there any other nominations? Okay, can I have a second for that?
Second.
Okay, I think that was Ms. Perrell. Any discussion? Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye, Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes, Ms. McGrady, yes. Mrs. Nguyen?
Aye.
Aye, so that passes 5-0 with student board member voting yes. We are at I. The Board of Trustees is asked to select a representative to the Antelope Valley School Board Association. The floor is open for nominations. I will nominate Danita Nguyen. Would anyone else like to nominate someone else? Okay, hearing no one, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Rush, any discussion?
Ms. McGrady, I do want to let people know that I am an honorary member of the Antelope Valley School Board Association, so I attend meetings anyway and have for the last 7 years. Well, as an honorary member.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady? Yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Aye.
Aye, so that passes with a 5-0 with student board member voting yes. So we are now looking for a representative to the Antelope Valley Schools Transportation Agency. The Board of Trustees is asked to select a representative to AVSTA. The floor is open for nominations.
I nominate Mr. Rush.
Okay, Mr. Rush. And that was Dr. Ruffin? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Ms. Perrell, is that a second? Okay, and discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady? Yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes. So that passes 5-0 with student board member voting yes. We are at 3, the PINCO meeting. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adjourn to the PINCO meeting. May I have a motion?
Motion.
I move. I second.
Okay, that was, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. I'm trying to identify voices. I believe that was Ms. Perrell made the motion and Ms. Nguyen did the second. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. And Ms. McGrady? Yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes, that passes a 5-0 with student board member voting yes. The public is invited to address items on the PINCO agenda or any item that is within the PINCO jurisdiction of the Board of Trustees. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each, and the total time, I don't believe we have any comments on that, so we can just skip right on over that. Let's review the first interim report and certify the financial condition of PINCO as positive. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Mr. Rush, okay, and that was Ms. Perrell for the second, I believe.
Yes.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
C, no.
No. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. McGrady is an aye. Ms. Nguyen?
Aye.
Aye. So that is 4-1 in favor. It passes, and with student board member voting yes. We are at D, the authorization of signatures and authorized agent status. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2020-21-12, an authorization of PINCO signatures and authorized agent status. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Rush,
Second.
thank you. A second? Ms. Perrell, did you second it?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing tonight.
that's
Any
okay.
discussion? Any discussion? Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. McGrady is aye. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that passes 4-1. So it passes, and Mr. Johnson voted yes. We will now reconvene to the regular meeting. I believe we have ICC students. Mr. Johnson, you will introduce, please.
Thank you, Ms. McGrady. Ladies and gentlemen of the board and cabinet, Lancaster High School.
ICC board presentation. Hi, I'm India Leonard, ASB Vice President. Hi, I'm Trustee Moreno, and I'm ASB's VP of Activities.
Hi, I'm Roman Laredo, and I'm ASB Secretary.
Hi, my name is Michelle Munoz, and I am Treasurer, and unfortunately, Angel Cruz wasn't able to join, but he is our historian. Start off this presentation, we'll start off with Spirit Weeks. We've had a few Spirit Weeks, and all of them have been successful. We've had our iCarly Spirit Week, the days are listed below. We've had Hispanic Heritage Month, and we've just recently had our Halloween Spirit Week, and all of them were really successful and very, very fun. ASB Activities Part 2. We've had a few Kahoots at home to get the students engaged with us, used as an educational technology in schools. Kahoots are really helpful to be fun and informational, giving a lot of information. We've had a few, one of our most biggest hits was the Hispanic Heritage Month. It was a really, really big success, and most of the questions were towards familiarizing our students about the special month and how important it is to our school. Some more activities that we had for ASB was we hosted a movie night for all of our students on a Zoom call where they had the opportunity to watch a movie live. And then we had our costume contest and our pumpkin carving activity for our Halloween Spirit Week. And then we also had our window painting activity. And then coming up next week, we have our turkey trot, and we're having it both virtual and real. And then we're having a virtual getting trip for Mr. Garcia's World History class, and then staff appreciation slides, which we're going to create for staff to show our appreciation. So just recently, we had our very first successful virtual pep rally, and we put together a compilation of videos. This involved students and staff. So we had minute-to-minute activities, we had live performances, and we also had live participation activities where students could engage live. And this was broadcasted through our YouTube.
So once every single week, Chelsea and I record in Eagle Vision, which is our way of making announcements and broadcasting where we talk about any activities and announcements going on. We also have our social media, which is our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, where we push out information so students all over the school can hear what's going on.
Lean Crew is a class and club on our campus that allows them to interact with freshmen and help guide them and create a positive environment and safe environment for them through their freshman year. So far, since everything's virtual, they've been able to have successful virtual interactive events such as Instagram Lives and virtual game events, such as like a recent Among Us play with link leaders and their freshman groups. There's also commissioners there to help support emotionally and academically, give them a better guidance through their freshman year, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Hello.
Ladies and gentlemen, boarding cabinet, SOAR High School.
Good afternoon. Wait, no. Hold on. I forgot what I was going to say. Good afternoon, board and cabinet. My name is Giselle Zamudio, and I'm the vice president of SOAR High School's Associated Student Body, and this is our ICC presentation. Habitudes is a social, emotional leadership curriculum that was introduced to SOAR this year. Habitudes uses image-based learning to help instill important leadership habits into young adults. Their lesson plans consist of stories, images, and experiences that teach students how to navigate through challenges and opportunities. It emphasizes the values of taking initiative, overcoming complex problems through persistence, developing critical thinking skills, and capitalizing on our personal strengths to be career ready as we pursue higher education.
Hello, my name is CJ Rosales. 90 students in our homecoming Discord this year, which is a new platform used for the event. Each activity and session was broken down into voice channels where students could speak and chats where students can exchange messages. Games in Among Us, the murder mystery, and Minecraft were hosted by clubs. Students also found a very creative way using voting with different class members shown above.
Hello everyone, my name is Crystal Mobaraka. All of our different classes host bi-weekly meetings to discuss fundraisers, dances, social media accounts, and helping with class decisions. Class senates serve the purpose of helping students engage more with the students from leadership as well. For example, last Friday, December 4th, we had a Chronic Tacos fundraiser, and this was a method of staying connected through social distancing. My name is Valerie Manzano, and I'm the ICC representative. Despite the challenges that online learning presents, we have been more engaged than ever. Our National Honor Society attended this year's Lead Spark Conference, where we engaged in discussions covering the significance of growth mindsets, using stress as a tool, and new ways to improve our chapter. Our Girls Build team attended the Girls Build 20 Summit, where guest speakers empowered students to be great leaders who serve their community. Our Society of Women Engineers collaborated with Helen Finger, the director of the Women's Engineering Program at Cal Poly, for an introduction into biomedical engineering. She discussed the engineering college admissions process along with the engineering age gap.
Hello, I'm Marcia Rivera, and I'm the Public Relations Officer for the class of 2022. SOAR prepared for the general election as students were encouraged to be civically engaged. NHS and Girls Build helped students record videos about propositions. Students also participated in phone banking and volunteered as poll workers on November 3rd.
Hello, I'm Ashley Goins, and I'm class of 2023 secretary. All of our clubs have been meeting on Zoom and having a lot of participation. Kiko recently had a clothing drive from November 9th till the 19th and had boxes and bags filled. Hispanic and Latinx Heritage Club is a new club and held a Spirit Week from October 12th to the 15th. Students were able to embody their culture through clothing, food, and music. Sweatnext hosted an Among Us event on November 5th and a problem-solving competition. Game Club has hosted multiple events on Discord and started a podcast on YouTube called The Quarter.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to dream high and soar higher.
Thank you, Ms. McGrady. We're very proud of our ICC presentations. Our class misses each other, but we are doing very well in the virtual setting. And thank you to Mr. Allen for putting this all together for us.
Ms. McGrady?
Yes.
This is Danita Nguyen. Could I just say a couple things?
Sure.
I'd like to thank Mr. Johnson for the support and encouragement that he's given students and the community. I know these are tough times, and I feel like you are doing an excellent job. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Ms. Nguyen.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Johnson. And I concur. I absolutely think you're doing a wonderful job. Thank you. Okay, as we move forward, we are at 5B, the annual and 5-year review of developer fee reports. Mr. Hawkins, do you have any comments on that?
Yes, good afternoon. This is
our annual report we do every December. This developer fee report is for last fiscal year. And then every 5 years, we have to do a 5-year recap. So that's why you'll see on the first page in your booklet, the current fiscal year. And then there are 5 years behind that where we show what we've done for the last 5 years. This is a report that we put out, like I said, annually, and it's designed for the public. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to C, the Antelope Valley Schools Transportation Reporter Update. Mr. Hawkins, I believe that's you as well. Do you have anything to report?
Yes, thank you. The transportation agency is transporting a few students to our autism school, and they're providing 4 buses every day where we take the lunch meals out into the public, and we feed maybe between 400 or so people every day outside of our school sites. We still do provide lunch service at our school sites as well. But the only thing to report from the last board meeting is you will see more of those buses out on the street because they need to drive them more. They went out and tried to start buses, and there were 50 dead batteries. So you'll see the buses out driving more, and that's just to keep the maintenance up on those units.
Okay, thank you. Moving forward, we are at D from ABTA, and I believe we have Mr. James Stockdale with us tonight. Mr. Stockdale?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Apologies from Mr. Shy. He's under the weather today, and so he asked me to cover for him today in speaking. First and foremost, we want to welcome Miss Danita Nguyen back to the board tonight and say just how much of a pleasure it is to have her here with us. We'd also like to welcome back Miss McGrady for another term. The AVTA is super happy to see that the voters of the Antelope Valley agreed with the candidates that they chose to support in this election. Candidates who were honest in their campaigns and who have demonstrated a willingness to put students first rather than friends or special interests. On that idea of friends and special interests, we notice that Ms. Perrell is now starting to vote somewhat in a different direction than what we've seen in the past. And while that is encouraging, as a union, we are reluctant to open our arms and let our guards down and to welcome Ms. Perrell into the fold of those that are showing that they can put kids before other things instead. We'd love to do that, but we can't, because that opportunity was offered by Mr. Shy over the last 2 years when he stood up and specifically invited Ms. Perrell to be the deciding vote and allow these things to pass that have been holding all of us hostage for the last 2 years. And frankly, that idea was scorned. The vote was ignored, or the request was ignored, but the vote spoke volumes about where she really stood on things. And we cannot gamble with the well-being of our students. The idea that these votes are going to continue to be the ones that are right and best for our kids versus what we've seen in the past. We're not willing to gamble away on our students, especially when we see continued actions that are still of concern. The financial records from the campaign of Mr. Coronado came forward recently, where we saw that Ms. Perrell was paid for working on the Coronado campaign. What's even more concerning is that as you continue down looking at those financials, you saw that that was a campaign that was predominantly funded by 2 personal injury attorneys who go after this very district in their lawsuits, and who bankrolled a campaign that then turned around and used that money to pay Ms. Perrell to work on it. That's not something that we can put trust and confidence in. That's not something that we see as not being in conflict with not having special interests or putting other things ahead of the students in this district. So while we would love to say that this is a new leaf being turned over, we feel like that's a record that we've heard before. And as such, we would rather see Ms. Perel resign and turn this position over to somebody else that does not have questionable financial backgrounds. She has yet to respond to requests to tell what is going on with the very public things that have put into question her financial dealings in the past with other organizations such as PTAs and whatnot. And until those things are done, there's no reason that we can have confidence in her as a group. There are plenty of people in this community. We heard in the last board meeting that there were even people standing up at the idea that she might choose to leave and volunteering to come fill those seats. And we know that there are plenty of others that would do that as well. It would be great to see a Latino candidate come out of Area 4 and represent that area and give us some representation. I know that that's something that has come up often in these meetings, that we don't have Latino representation on our board. And while I don't think that Mr. Coronado, who ran, was the right person for that, I do think that's something that would be very important to have on our board. As to Dr. Ruffton, we don't really have much to say to you. You've scorned us in the past. I'm sure you'll continue to scorn us in the future. This election gave you your reward, and you're going to get what you get for the next 2 years as a result. We put a lot of support and a lot of money behind Ms. McGrady and Ms. Wynn in each of the respective areas that they were running in, and we're excited to see that they won. However, as a union, we don't expect any special favors for that. The only thing that we expected, and the reason that we backed them in this election and that we're so excited about the oaths tonight, is because they have shown that they put kids first. Ms. Wynn, when she was not on the board, she continued to visit schools. She continued to come to board meetings. She continued to volunteer her time, to her money, and donating supplies and everything else. That demonstrated that this was not something that we just do during political season, that we don't just show up to board meetings right before an election that we're going to run for, that we don't just do it when it's convenient, that it's something that is ingrained in our DNA to put kids first. And that's the only expectations that we have. When we put our dollars and our volunteer hours and our efforts and our social media posts forward in supporting these candidates, our only expectation is that they will put the kids first, that we as teachers get to serve, because that is what has been lacking on this board for the last 2 years. And we're excited to see that there are now enough candidates, well, not even candidates, but enough members of this board that are now willing to prioritize our children. Those kids that we see in class, whether it be through a computer on Zoom or whether it be in person when that time comes again, that we know that their needs are first, and then we can focus on teaching again. That's something that we're excited about. That was our only expectation. Not that there was some backroom deal that we were going to get X amount in a raise, because none of those things occurred. None of those were even part of the conversation. It was all about, let's do what we need to do to move this district forward and be able to educate our kids in the best way possible. One last item of note is we do see that Anthony Hunt is on the agenda tonight, and if approved, he will join the ranks of teachers. That's something that as AVTA we're excited about. And I would invite Mr. Hunt, as well as anyone else that's joining our ranks, that to look for that email from Mr. Millings, who's our VP over membership, and fill that out as soon as possible to join us in this fight to educate our kids in the best way possible and to provide a resource for this valley in a strong educational program that will allow all of us to be proud of what we're doing here. I know that I'm proud. This is my 16th year in this district, and I know that so many teachers have gone through so much in these difficult times right now, but they're proud of what they do and they're energized by the kids that we get to work with. As this semester wraps up, and it's been a difficult one for everyone, I know that I was looking at some of the videos of my kids turned in today, and I almost started crying sitting at my computer, just so proud of the work that they had turned in. I know that's something that a lot of teachers are experiencing, and it's just, although a difficult time in education, it's still a great time to be a part and to see what we can do with these kids. And we're excited, looking forward. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Stockdale. From CSEA, we have Ms. Karen White with us. Ms. White?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you and good afternoon. Please let me welcome back to the Board of Trustees, Mrs. McGrady, and congratulate our newly elected Mrs. Nguyen, and greet fellow board members, student board member, Mr. Johnson, Dr. Vieira, board cabinet, and Mr. Furno and Ms. Orozco. Here we are at the end of another year, and one that has had more trials and tribulations than any that I can remember. We've faced challenging events with the COVID-19, and it's made each of us reevaluate our futures and those of our students and community with each day. We've been put to the test, but we still have a long way to go to survive many of these uncertainties with the COVID-19 crisis. There have been dark days for our students and our staff as well. I appreciate the information that the district has provided in the update AVUHSD for student support, program information, mental health supports, and other avenues that are available. For our classified staff, there are programs also available to assist you with different situations. And I hope, if you have the need, you will reach out to a CSEA Labor Relations representative or call our Fresno field office at 800-439-6626 for any additional programs that are at your disposal. Again, that number is 800-439-6626. Together, we can send this crisis packing and push towards a better 2021. So to everyone, I thank you for your long days and nights as you worked with our employees, answered their questions and concerns, and provided information that for our programs that give us strength when we were experiencing moments of weakness. I also want to thank the district for sending 8 of our paraeducator staff to the March Virtual Paraeducator Conference. I know these members are looking forward to it this year and will return with an abundance of information that will benefit us all. And on a special note, I want to thank Lisa Potter for her work in getting these paras registered and so promptly. As it is, they will now receive a special CSEA bonus package. Thank you so much, Lisa. Your time and your effort in this has been greatly appreciated. Again, it's been a trying year for all of us. And with looking back over these past 9 months, I want to acknowledge our essential workers who have had little relief or time off as they work to provide a service to our students and community. I know it appears as a thankless job, but I hope that during this winter break, you will afford them the ability to have time to receive the rest or time off they so desperately need. Now I'd like to address an item on your board agenda for this afternoon. It's 7A, Personnel Services, the approval of a provisional interim permit. I'm hopeful that you will finally provide Mr. Hunt the ability to fulfill his dreams in being a special education teacher and work with the students he has already a rewarding relationship with, but now as their teacher. He has worked hard and been diligent in his career efforts. Please allow him to show you that giving him this opportunity was the best decision you've made this year. As the holidays grow closer, I hope you will consider the toll COVID-19 has been placed on our staff and realize how important the ability to recuperate is since we don't have students on campuses. We aren't afforded this opportunity very often, and this year has been extreme. Lastly, but not least, and with every word sincerity, CSEA wishes you all a safe and healthy holiday. May each day bring you and your families an abundance of blessings to fill your year with smiles and memories to cherish forevermore. Please have a very Merry Christmas and a beautiful and rewarding New Year. Thank you all for everything you do. It's noticed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. White. We appreciate your comments. We are moving forward in our meeting. We are at F for the public comments from the floor for agendized items. We have heard some of those comments already, and we will hear the others on the agenda as the item comes up. So we're going forward to G, public comments from the floor on non-agendized items. I believe we do have some comments. Could we hear those now, please?
Yes, the first comment this evening on non-agendized is from Krishna D. Spates. Good afternoon, Superintendent Vieira and Board of Trustees. I'm a parent of a Highland High School Honors AP 10th grade student. I'm also a member of Highland High School's School Site Council. Professionally, I serve students and their families as an elementary school assistant principal. First, I would like to thank Dr. Grado for his leadership in building a culture of educators who are compassionate and are willing to support their students' success. Last year, my son, Ozar Taylor, ended the year with a weighted 4.2 GPA. I think it's important to note his positionality. His father is a proud immigrant, and I am African American. He attended Desert Christian through 7th grade until we moved to Anna Verde. He has always taken great pride in his academic capabilities and successes. He has always viewed himself as being smart. He works very hard in school and has aspirations of one day serving as Highland High School's ASB president and attending NYU after high school. And then the pandemic happened. My child has never received a D or F, and I cannot recall a C. My son began the semester with 5 Fs. He quickly became overwhelmed and I believe depressed. He gave up and fell into a hole and was over 90 assignments behind. He gave up. No matter how much we pushed, prodded, encouraged, threatened to take items, nothing worked. I tried to get him to ask for help, but he did not want his teachers to view him negatively. Then I finally had to intervene, and when I did, his teachers came to the rescue. Miss Aslani Vatan spent time with him on Google Meets, and that began the snowball of support he needed. He finally had hope. He then had the courage to reach out to his other teachers. They offered a plan of support to help him turn things around. They gave my big baby hope, and he could still succeed and restored his confidence. At this time, I want to publicly thank the following Highland High School teachers: Miss Aslani Vatan, Mr. Root, Mr. Bell, Mrs. Bell, Miss Libre Lynn, and Mr. Young. While he fell too far behind in AP World History, I do appreciate Mr. Root's willingness to help Ozar. Each of these teachers demonstrated compassion, offered an alternate plan of support and flexibility. I appreciate what they are doing for all their students. They understand that unprecedented times may just call for unprecedented support. Thank Dr. Grado for cultivating an awesome 10th grade team. I would also like to thank my son's 9th grade counselor, Miss Jamas, who is a superstar.
30 seconds.
She goes above and beyond to support students and their college-going plans. I wish my son could keep her for his entire time in high school. Our students need hope, unprecedented support so they can still fulfill their college-going dreams. I'm asking that the Board of Trustees continue to support their high school principals and to provide the resources needed for the following. 1, offer opportunities in the summer to not only make up A through G courses to which they receive Ds and or Fs, but to please offer
Time.
The next comment.
Excuse me, I would like to ask the other trustees if we could hear the remainder of it.
Okay, board, what say you? How do you feel?
Sure.
I'd like to hear it too. Yes.
Okay. All right. Could we hear the rest of those? I'm assuming we're close to the end on it, so let's hear the rest.
Absolutely. Number 2, offer credit recovery to all students before their 11th grade year, where they can choose to make up semesters where they earned a D or F. 3, I know it's a long shot, but I would like an MOU for students that offer unprecedented support to protect them from Ds and Fs during distance learning by offering a not enough data option that doesn't cause them harm and allowing a C to serve as the lowest grade a student who attends Zoom each day can receive, and completes at least 50% of the work. Unprecedented times call for innovative and unprecedented levels of support. Thank you, Dr. Grado, Ms. Aslani Baton, Mr. Bell, Mrs. Bell, Ms. Lieberlin, and Mr. Young for restoring my son's confidence in himself and helping him climb out of a hole. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm happy my once A student now has only 2 Fs instead of 5, and we continue to pray for a Hail Mary to boost 1 more. Osar, I know you are listening. Dr. Grado and Highland, we are a USC household, so I say to all of you working to support our students, they need you, so fight on. The next comment is from Lee Sin. Good afternoon, board. I just want to take a moment to make sure that I understand correctly. Amanda Pearl was paid to work on the campaign of Miguel Coronado, who ran against Jill McGrady. What exactly was her role then? The FPPC paperwork says something about sending mailers, as in the hit mailers that lied and slandered Miss McGrady in the election. Yeah, that's going to create a wonderful working environment going forward. Who is creating a hostile work environment for whom? Resign, accept the loss, and move on with your life. The next comment is from Jordan Severe. I noticed in the last board meeting that Ms. Pearl actually broke from the oppressive overlording of Mrs. Ruffin and voted against her. Have you ever heard the phrase too little, too late? Where was this willingness over the past 2 years as you systematically sought to destroy the district 1 vote at a time? Where was this willingness as Dan Scheid pled with you to be the difference maker and help end the tyranny? It was nowhere to be found when it mattered. Well, you don't matter anymore, and we're not interested in your change. Resign, leave, let this board be filled with a group that can work together with the eye single to the task of improving student outcomes. One that can trust each other, something that's clearly not possible with you present. The next comment is from Monica Dobson. Good evening, board, cabinet, and members of the community. I'm Monica Dobson, and once again, the majority of this comment is directed to the board member from Area 4. It's about this time last year when I invited you with an open mind to Palmdale High for an event for our foster students. I have to say that seeing you actually show up and interact with our students was a pleasant surprise. I watched you laugh and clap and enjoy the moments as each student won door prizes and opened presents that they genuinely wished for. After this day, I was hopeful that you would understand what we do to give all of our students the best possible experience. Unfortunately, that shared experience never proved to help open your eyes to what is truly needed for our staff and students. Since that time, you have continued to act or not act in the best interest of the students in this district. It seems you have absolutely no integrity or original thought. It makes me wonder as to why you refuse to go into closed session or just not shown up for so many board meetings. I'm beginning to think that you are afraid of the board member from Area 5. Is this true? Just like she attempts to degrade and unsuccessfully intimidate other members of this board, teachers, classified staff, and district office personnel, it appears she is successful in intimidating you. Can you not think for yourself or make decisions on your own in the best interest of our students? I think not. Maybe the real bully on this board is the member from Area 5. As the representative of my area on this board, I'm ashamed to say I gave you my vote. You have no courage to stand up to the member from Area 5 and do what's right. Because of this lack of ethics, courage, and integrity, do your constituents a favor and resign so that someone who is willing to fight for what is right can occupy that seat and represent Area 4 with integrity and character. To all the members of the board, as we continue to move forward, it would be wonderful for you to all keep your cameras and microphones on. As I watch other districts conduct their board meetings, the members are visible to the public. Even if you're not in person, it would be nice to see you conducting yourself in a manner to which board members should. This would definitely help avoid unprofessional situations like the phone call that was on air between the members of Area 4 and 5 during the September 10th, 2020 board meeting. On a positive note, we do have something to celebrate tonight. Congratulations, Jill McGrady, for retaining your board seat. Keep working hard for our students. Danita Nguyen, welcome back to the board. I hope in your time on this board, you will continue to work for our students, staff, and community.
30 seconds.
And I also hope you're able to right the wrongs of the last 2 years that have been detrimental to our progress in providing the best experiences and opportunities for all of our students. Thank you. The next comment is from Sean Campbell. Congratulations to our recently elected and re-elected board members. Your focus on and service to our students is noticed and appreciated. The next comment is from Alex Ramirez. When I was younger, I used to enjoy playing Connect the Dots. As it turns out, there's an adult version. Let's play it together. Miguel Coronado, aka the ambulance chaser, shows up to exploit the family who were victims of the Highlands shooting. He refers them to a personal injury attorneys, Goldberg and Gage, likely receiving a kickback on their referral. These attorneys then promptly begin the process of suing the district, something that is sure to end up on the docket to be voted on by the school board as to settle or not. Goldberg and Gage then donate almost $8,000, almost single-handedly funding his campaign for the school board of, you got it, Miguel Coronado. Had this have worked, they would have had a school board member capable of voting on the outcome of an expensive, high-profile case who had originally referred the case to them in the first place. Not just one vote, though. Turns out that Miguel Coronado also had paid employees on his campaign, none other than board member Amanda Prowl. Yes, that same board member who we've recently seen openly colluding on votes with Victoria Ruffin during board meetings instead of listening to the actual presentations occurring. So in essence, Amanda was paid with money directly provided by the attorneys Goldberg and Gage, who are actively suing the district as we speak. Yes, the fix was in and we narrowly avoided it, Antelope Valley. C isn't connecting the dots button. The next comment is from Cassiopeia Brown. For those who haven't been keeping score, I'd like to share an update of the questionable financial dealings of Mrs. Pearl and why she should seriously consider resigning ASAP. It began almost immediately as she ran for office and included in her qualifications that she was a board member with NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness. It wasn't long after being elected then that it was pushed that NAMI be given a contract for mental health services with the district. Sounds honorable, right? Except for the fact that the services being offered were services that NAMI already offers to communities for free. Why then would we be paying for them? Pearl never would answer that. Next, Pearl served as treasurer of Palmdale Elementary PTA. While acting simultaneously as a board member, dealings that were questionable enough to cause investigation led her to leaving the PTA. More, with her votes on this board, she prevented the district from accepting grant money, accepting tax money, and paying for things like school lunches. For the cherry on top, a recent public records request showed Amanda Pearl was paid to work on the campaign of Miguel Coronado, a campaign predominantly funded by lawyers who are actively suing the district. I wonder how she would vote in relation to their lawsuits. Dirty money, questionable treasurer activities, costly votes, trying to make us pay for free services. Isn't it about time to resign yet? The next comment is from a concerned employee. Hello, I would like to say congratulations to Ms. Lynn and Mrs. McGrady. This message is being written anonymous due to the narcissist and dishonest principal of my campus. At Eastside High School, our employees are not safe. Our principal is not mitigating the spread of COVID-19. Instead, he has put me and my family's health in danger. At EHS, staff isn't wearing masks. Staff gathers and administration, AKA Mr. Dunn, refuses to lead us to health safety, and several staff continue to test positive. I urge the board to visit the school, talk to staff in hopes they discuss their fear of health safety with you. We were already in the newspaper and have learned nothing. Please help. The next comment is from concerned CSEA 612 members employed by the Antelope AVUHSD. Thank you for giving the CSEA employees a voice here today at this board meeting for the Antelope Valley Union High School District. We appreciate the opportunity to express our concerns, especially since we value the lives of our students, families, and community members. We are living during a time that is like no other generation. The COVID-19 pandemic continues to produce uncertainty, stress, and trauma in everyone's lives. By now, we have all been impacted by this virus, which has been devastating for so many. As COVID-19 case rates and hospitalizations continue to rise at an alarming pace and threaten to overwhelm the healthcare delivery system, California health officials announced a regional stay-at-home order. The Southern California region, comprised of Los Angeles County, has seen an alarming rate of increase over the last several weeks. We are being asked by the California governor to do what we can to help reduce the spread of the virus. Our district has taken a great proactive first step in helping stop the spread of the COVID-19 virus by offering a temporary closure of all schools and offices during the winter break. However, in an unprecedented and negligent move, they have ended all remote work agreements and are requiring classified employees once again to risk exposure by working on campus and in the office during the winter break. This is a worldwide pandemic which has seen increased numbers in the Antelope Valley over the last several weeks. It is irresponsible, given the nature of the crisis we are in, to put our members' health at risk, increasing their possible exposure to the COVID-19 virus, as well as exposing it to their families and loved ones. In addition, due to the increase in cases, one of our very own high schools was temporarily closed prior to Thanksgiving break due to several employees who had contracted COVID-19. Now more than ever, we are witnessing a high level of COVID-19 in the community, and it is no longer safe and appropriate to have any students on campus. In addition, public health officials have called the spread of the virus dangerous. We also ask the district and for those who are currently working on campus to have the opportunity to work from home during the winter break. The goal of our district should be to protect the health, safety, and well-being of students, staff, and the community. We believe the best way we can accomplish this goal is to continue allowing those who can work remotely the opportunity to do so from home during the winter break. Since we are relying on our district to keep us as classified employees
30 seconds.
by putting our health first, we are then able to keep providing exemplary service to our students, families, and community. Furthermore, we ask the district to consider allowing the winter break to be an opportunity to shelter in place and stop the spread of COVID-19. We ask the district to provide a caring and considerate respect for the health and well-being of all members during this pandemic, with the continued flexibility to remote work from home. Thank you for your time today and dedication to serving our students and families, just as we so proudly do every day.
Time.
Concerned CSEA members. The next comment is from Baron Gardner. Our local sheriffs, both stations, are way out of compliance with the Department of Justice settlement agreement in most categories. They have a long documented history of racist practices and abuse in this community. According to the latest monitoring update, there is a clear racial bias, as Black people are more likely to be stopped and searched and least likely to have contraband. The sheriff's own community survey documents that community support for the sheriffs has dwindled since just last year. They have an internal gang problem in their culture, and what they represent in the community is not what we need in AVUHSP. We should repurpose those funds for mental health support, conflict resolution, etc. I know it's a sticky subject in this community, but the information is overwhelming. If they are not in compliance with the federal government, why are they on our campuses? We don't even have access to data in regards to police encounters, arrest of our students. There are no checks or transparencies in the district in regards to the police. Please make this data available for public access. There's too much going on not to. The next comment is from Vivian. God bless this board and cover us all with the blood of Jesus, because we all fall short of your mercy and grace. To the entire board, I must first give you all your props for the cordial and most part respectable way you all treated each other the last meeting. Because if you recall, when I first came to a meeting, what I witnessed of the public in the audience and the disgraceful behavior and language amongst Grady and Rush against the two board members, it was as a damn circus that had nothing to do with our students. I had to reach out to see if I could make the complaint with the CDE, because there's no way in hell you could all work together for the kids. However, you did a decent job. Do it again tonight, please. So now let me first say, the truth will set you free. So I will not sugarcoat it. I just wish some of you, and you know who you would have a conscience like the great Christian white man, John Brown, who stood and killed for the rights to not stop slavery. Damn if, starting from the superintendent and then Grady and Rush had a piece of his brain, this board could have a chance. So don't fear Perel. nor I know you have no fear, Dr. Ruffins, because God's got your back and I do too. Just because there should be transparency and not anyone collecting dollars from the unfair treatment against Black and brown students. Those that are still feeling like all is well with our district, just check out these inappropriate ways, even being said to be investigating about a member, Julie Drake of the AV Press, that are deep friends of Grady, to keep pushing racism using what appears to be district funds. Stop the madness. Let's all hold our employees accountable, starting with our superintendent, whom I must say I wish you would still stand up for the injustice of our district with the corruption of employees that should be fired for treating students and their parents that pay taxes to keep the district employed. Thank you again, my educated white, brown, Black, and all nationalities that are still promoting the good trouble. Get it together, district, and have a safe, Merry Christmas. Remembrance of Jesus, he created us all. The next comment is from Raymond Hart, head counselor of KHS. I want to thank the district and specifically Dr. Vieira and Gary Allen for providing access to technology and tech resources to aid and support us while working in this virtual world. As a counselor, it is still not my preferred manner of counseling, but with the support of Dr. Laird at KHS and the district, we are making it work. In addition, I'd like to congratulate Ms. Wynn and Ms. McGrady on their election victories. It is a pleasure having you two on the AVHSD school board. The last comment this evening is from Amos Wellington. What does it mean to defund the police? What does it mean to abolish the police department? How will we investigate crimes without police? Who will answer 911 if we defund or abolish the police? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Congratulations to our newly elected board. And that said, let's get to work. Our contract with the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department ended effectively on June 30th of 2020. At this moment, we do not have a contract with LASD, and this gives us a great opportunity to effectively measure, evaluate, validate, or eliminate our connection with the LASD on our campuses. There has been video after video of school safety officer, security officer around the nation abusing children, almost always non-white. Our consideration on this matter is vital. This is not a small passing conversation that will just go away. This conversation has been a long time coming. I move that we put together a committee of community members, faculty, staff, security, and the LASD to measure the effectiveness of our partnership on a daily basis on our campuses before we sign another contract. A short time ago in our nation's history, Southern states were integrated at the directive of the White House and the President of the United States. Frontline battles for these first steps of integration were schools. I see Ruby Bridges being walked into a school by 4 federal marshals to break the color barrier in Louisiana 60 years and 1 month ago, November 14th, 1960. Ruby Bridges is 66 years old and very much alive today. There are many layers to this discussion, including disproportionality and discipline. When should arrests be made versus counseling? We have a $1 million plus contract with the LASD. Could some or all of that money be put to better use on our campuses? It is reasonable to consider that we hire more counselors or contract with mentoring groups that will facilitate more brotherhood, love, sense of community on our campuses. I'm not advocating for reckless decision-making that can endanger our students, staff, or visitors to our campuses. I am without question saying that we need to move deliberately and cerebrally as it relates to the police present on our campuses. Thank you. That concludes the non-agendized comments this evening.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving forward, we are at 6 on educational services. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees review proposed revisions to BP/AR/E as presented. This is a first read. Do we have any questions or discussion or comments?
Yes. Were parents included in this process? I heard parents had challenges getting on the Zoom call yesterday.
Dr. Ruffin, I'm not sure what Zoom call you're referring to. This is just an update to board policy that brings it in line with current legislative language. So we may be talking about 2 different things.
Absolutely. As I read through this very thoroughly, I see that this is talking about language that says technology-based materials or other educational materials and tests, technology-based materials that include but are not limited to software programs, video discs, compact discs. So since it was mentioning so much of the technology, I had spoken to a few parents who said that there was a parent meeting that was set up, and this parent has spoken about the hardships that they were having with trying to access technology for their student. So I was just wondering, when this board policy was put in place, if there was times that you guys, when you're doing your revision, had you all met with a parent group? That's my question.
So to answer specific to this policy, we did not. We consulted legislative language and brought the policy in line with that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward. We are at B. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees review the proposed revisions to BP/AR as presented. Again, this is a first read. Do we have any questions or comments or discussion? Okay, hearing none, we will move forward. I believe we had some comments from the public on number 7. This is personnel services action items. Is that correct?
Correct. There's comments on 7A and then on 7C.
Okay, let's start with the ones on 7A.
Okay. The first comment tonight is from Stacy Height. First off, I want to congratulate Anthony Hunt for his election to the board of the Palmdale School District and swearing in today. Just as he does for the students of ABUHSD, he will make a difference for the youth of the elementary district. Today will also mark a step for diversity, equity, and inclusion when the board votes this afternoon to hire Anthony Hunt as a teacher in this district. Anyone who has attended meetings this past year has watched in shame and horror while board members from Area 4 and 5 vote against Mr. Hunt. Each time they voted against him or abstained from voting, they failed to explain their vote. For the member from Area 4, silence is normal. She has been voiceless the entire time she has served on the board, except recently when she wanted it on the record that she didn't vote with the member from Area 5 and abstained to deny Anthony Hunt's employment as a teacher. The representative from Area 5 has said lots about transparency, but just can't seem to be transparent about Mr. Hunt. She talks about wanting opportunities for Black and Brown employees in the district, but has repeatedly denied Mr. Hunt the opportunity to serve in a position that interview panels have said he is the right person. Why is this board member interfering with the district's attempt to improve diversity amongst the teaching staff when it came to Mr. Hunt? Because he supported her recall. Now there won't be a deadlock on the voting. What will the members from Area 4 and 5 of the board do? I hope that the member from Area 4 finds her voice today and does the right thing by apologizing to Mr. Hunt for following Area 5's lead and then voting yes to approve his PIP. I know this is a stretch, but it would be an even greater step if the member from Area 5 would apologize to Mr. Hunt, but I have never seen her behave humbly, so it probably never happen. Maybe she can at least finally explain why she has not supported the employment of this qualified African-American man as an educator. Where is the transparency here? Voters from Area 5 want to know why she singles him out. Ruffin's record shows that she always asks questions and is never at a loss for words when she votes, except for when she's being spiteful. It would be nice if she would, 1, be truthful and acknowledge that she is hurt that Mr. Hunt supported her recall from the board. 2, uphold the oath she took to serve the students of this district. 3, set aside her personal vendetta and vote to employ Mr. Hunt as a teacher with this district. The next comment is from Stephen Benson. 13,328. That is how many people in Palmdale voted for Anthony Hunt to represent them on the Palmdale School District Board. I was one of them. 3, that is how many board members need to recognize that the community wants Anthony Hunt in the classroom too. Do the right thing. We want Anthony for our kids, not a sub. No slight intended to the hardworking subs. To heck with your vendettas over a guy eating a bagel next to you, and take your highly inappropriate Uncle Tom comments elsewhere and hire this fantastic young man. If only our kids could have teachers like him. The next comment is from Vivian. I would like to publicly show my support for Anthony Hunt. For the past 9 months, I have been lied to by community members, and I'm finna make that right today. I'm no longer going to be used by Miss Ruffin and Mr. Miguel. They have been using me for months. They have been making me call Mr. Hunt racist and threatening. Today, I want to publicly apologize and express my support for Mr. Hunt. I look forward to seeing him as a teacher for the Antelope Valley High School District. The next comment is from Vivian. I'm going to keep this short. I owe an apology to Coach Mr. Hines, Mr. James Stockdale, and Anthony Hunt. I have been being lied to by Mr. Miguel and Ms. Ruffin. They have promised things that aren't going to happen now. They used me. I do not believe that Coach Hines, Mr. Stockdale, and Mr. Hunt are intimidating or racist. The students are lucky to have these strong male figures in their lives. Please forgive me for being led the wrong way by these evil community members. I'm about making this right. The last comment is from Vivian. Whereby any item is discussing to have Anthony Hunt back for a vote, it's time to stop the damn nonsense. It's so sad to say those that are diehard fans who are really pushing his case are clueless. For instance, it's like Me Too movement until the truth comes out on both he and James Stockdale as acting like paid enforcer, intimidators of the AV Union School District against parents standing up to a no good, evil, racist coach, DJ Hines, that didn't just do harm to our kids, but all races of kids on that historical non-coaching Highland High School varsity basket team. Simply because it didn't happen to your child. You conveniently wish to act like nothing happened to the kids called out the N-word and treated like you know what should be ashamed to call yourselves anything. So you weren't there, you don't see what the other side of Hunt. You're simply trying to get a black-skinned Uncle Tom puppet to push your racist agenda in the name of a black person, not man. Because tell them, Hunt, didn't you say I'm just here to support him, Stockdale? Sick. You're disgusting, and I hope we can all stop this district and any district contemplating hiring foolishness. Why not care for the students you have jobs from? That concludes the comments for 7A. There is a comment for 7C.
Thank you. Let's wait on that one until we get to it. So it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve and direct the Assistant Superintendent of Personnel Services to submit a provisional internship permit allowing this individual to teach in the subject areas indicated. May I have a motion?
I move.
Motion.
Okay, that would be Ms. Nguyen made the motion. Mr. Rush made a second. We are open for discussion. Mr. Neal, could you explain, I had several people question how we could bring this back, I think for the third time. Could you explain how we happen to be here tonight on this issue once again?
Absolutely, yes. I would give the opportunity to do so. As you may know, we have multiple vacancies for special ed teachers throughout the year, and we post and interview constantly for those vacancies. So when we are able to interview and set up an interview panel and an interview team and identify candidates that we want to bring forward to you as the board, we do so. There are still vacancies left, however. And so after a number of weeks, we'll post again and get additional candidates for an interview 2 and then an interview 3. So we will continue to post for these vacancies as long as we have them, and hopefully get qualified candidates to interview, and then we can bring recommendations to you.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. I have some information I would like to add for this discussion. So this vote has come up on 2 previous board meetings already, where Trustee McGrady and Rush have passionately spoken about their friendship with the candidate, and they should recuse themselves from this vote according to board bylaw 9270, which reads, open quotation, as Board of Trustees, we are to maintain the highest ethical standards to ensure decisions are made in the best interest of the district and public. And board members, designated employees, or other persons in a designated position make a governmental decision when he, she, acting within the authority of his or her office or position, authorizes or directs any action on matters, votes, provides information or opinion on it, contracts, or appears before official for purpose of affecting the decision, or takes any other action specified in 2 CCR 18704. You two should, that's a close quotation. You two should excuse yourselves for conflict of personal interest or friendship. Trustee McGrady further should consider personal conflict of economic interest, a board member knowing you may gain a personal conflict of economic interest as a board member in disapproval of this contract, as this candidate's affiliation with your family member in a local district where the candidate is a board member and economic privilege lies hiring and favors to your family member. California Government Code 1090 speaks to these ethics. Before I go into the California Government Code 109, I want to remind this board that the anti-racist LA County agenda that was started by Mark Ridley Thomas this past June and July and that baton is passed to Holly J. Mitchell, which she just picked up and was sworn in a few days ago. In this agenda, it puts in place for this very moment that we're experiencing right now. It was meant for people just like me, elected officials, who like me sit on cities, councils, counties, school districts in California, who are fortunate that citizens have stepped up to the plate in this very time to run for office, who are not afraid to speak up and dismantle the status quo as we serve as guardians of taxpayers' dollars and public trust. So I'm going to go back to California Code 1090, which specifically prohibits public officials and public employees from making public contracts in which they have a financial interest. When the public officials with prescribed financial interests is a public member of a public body or a board, the prohibition of section 1090 extends to the entire body. So that's everybody on this board. This means even if the board member discloses his or her financial interests or disqualifies themselves for participating in this vote on this manner, the remaining board members still are prohibited from entering into this contract that's currently in question. This contract, if approved under such circumstances, are void and unenforceable, even if the financially interested member refrains from participating in the contract. And I'm done.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I think it was 5 months ago when this was on the agenda for the first time. I'm disappointed it didn't pass. I believe a no vote to this is a disservice to the students of Palmdale High School, and I'm optimistic of approving this provisional internship permit.
Thank you.
Ms. McGrady, this is Danita Nguyen. I do have just a couple of questions, probably for Mr. Neal.
Sure.
Mr. Neal, was there a different interview panel each time this appointment came up?
Yes, Ms. Nguyen. There are 3 interview panels, and depending on what site had vacancies at the time, we would have different administrators participate. So while, for example, Palmdale had continued to have a vacancy, different administrators would represent Palmdale at each of those different interview sessions.
So, in other words, the district has had multiple people say that this particular person is capable and desired to hold this position, not just one board or one set of interview panels.
That's correct. 3 different interview panels, 3 different members.
I understand that this person is well liked and respected and admired, and not only by his peers, but by his students as well. Is that true?
I would say yes. Mr. Hunt has been Palmdale's #1 candidate through all of those. They do. He is a classified employee on Palmdale's campus, so they are familiar with his work product.
Mr. Neal, can I also remind the board that the board has one employee, and that is the superintendent. I think that there was a question out from a community member in board comments. The reason why I never talk about the candidate is because I know my role as a board member. The board, no trustee has any right to speak on an employee ever. We have one employee, and that's the superintendent. So we don't have a right to speak on anybody in this fashion as this is going forward in this realm. And what I would caution at this very moment is I am stating for the record California Government Code 1090 and our responsibility, our fiduciary responsibility as board trustees. And I would like that to be cited for the record and in the minutes, my comments, and I'm resting.
Ms. McGrady, this is Jay.
Yes,
Do you want me to respond to the 1090 issue?
Thank you.
I'll just say simply that 1090 just does not apply to this situation at all. That deals with when the school board is going to enter into a contract, and you're not entering into a contract here. So I don't think there's a conflict anyways, but I just want to state clearly that it just does not apply in this instance.
Thank you. I appreciate your input. Do we have any other discussion?
Sorry, Ms. McGrady. Ms. Nguyen,
Yes.
You asked a question to Mr. Neal of his support, and I would just say to the public that I have spoken to many students at Palmdale High School, I think 7, and they were all overwhelmingly in favor of Mr. Hunt. So just for public record, I'd like to say that.
Thank you so much. Do we have anything else we need to say before we go for the vote? Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye? Was that an aye?
Yes.
Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady? Yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes. That passes 4-1 with a student board member voting yes. So we are moving forward to B, the designation of CIF representatives to the league. It is recommended that Board of Trustees approve the 2020-2021 designation of CIF representatives to league. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
That was Mr. Rush, and Ms. Nguyen will be the second. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
discussion?
I have a question I have a question for Mr. Neal. I believe in July when this first came up, you said there was a deadline. Can you give us an update on, is there still a deadline for this? I mean, we're well past it at this point.
Yes, that's correct. We're well past the deadline. However, CIF has provided some flexibility, and they would be willing to accept Mr. Williams as our representative should the vote pass.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I thought there was
Ms.
another.
McGrady?
Yes.
I just have a quick comment. When I first was on the board in 2002, I had a conversation with Coach Coy Ray. I don't know how many people still remember Coach, but I asked him at the time how many of our students actually got scholarships, how many of them actually made it from high school sports to an upper level sports. And he said at the time, you could probably count them on one hand. And since then, during the time that I was on the board, I watched many, many students get scholarships and proceed in life to their position because of their participation in sports. And I hopefully want to thank all of our coaches and the people who work so hard to make sure that that happens for the students.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, let's call for the vote. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady? Yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes, so that passes 4-1 with a student board member voting yes. We are at C, and I believe we have a comment from the public. Is it-
Yes,
Yes,
there's
thank
one comment this evening from Baron Gardner. The Alliance for Black Student Equity supports the Director of Equity position. African American academic and disciplinary issues are a national blight and have been festering in this district for too long with no real concern, prolonged plan of action. This Director of Equity will be a tangible, good faith step to let us know the district is serious about our underserved African American students and their families. It can provide leadership and accountability to site equity teams that are forming now. It would be a show of commitment and an admission that there is an issue of race and equity in our society and in our district that needs to be addressed now. It goes beyond the half-hearted measures and meetings that will never solve the problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the job description Director of Equity. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Okay,
I
that was,
second.
Mr. Rush and Ms. Nguyen, thank you. Any discussion or comments? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
No.
No. Dr. Ruffin?
I approve the job description.
That's a yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady is a yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes. So that passes 4-1 with the student board member voting yes. Okay, we are at 8A. This is conduct a public hearing on resolution number 2020-21-15, a temporary interfund transfer. It's recommended that the Board of Trustees open, conduct, and close a public hearing on resolution number 2020-21-15, and it is 4:40. Okay.
I think my mic's on.
Okay, comments from staff or board. Mr. Hawkins?
Yes, good afternoon again. This is allows the district to transfer funds transfer dollars between our different fund accounts. Now that the state is into its deferrals, which means starting in February, we will start to receive less funds this year with the promise they'll pay us back next year. We need to be able to transfer funds between Fund 17 and Fund 40 to cover some of the general fund expenditures we're going to have, because we will be, the next item is going to be a trans, and the trans uses what's called a cash flow, and it incorporates our existing funds. So I would, if we have any other comments or questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, are there any comments from the board? Okay, we did not have comments from the public, so we will close the public hearing at 4:41 and go to B. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve resolution number 2020-21-15 for temporary transfers of funds for cash flow purposes. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Rush, thank you. Second? I'll second it. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady? Yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes. It passes 4-1 with a student board member voting yes. We are at C. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2020-21-16, approving participation in the Los Angeles County Pooled Educational Agencies 2021 Tax and Revenue Anticipation Notes. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Rush, thank you. A second?
I second.
Okay, and that Ms. Nguyen, a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. McGrady, yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes, it passes 4-1 with the student board member voting yes. We are at D. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2020-21-14 regarding the Education Protection Act spending determination for fiscal year 2020-21. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. Second?
I second.
Thank you, Ms. Nguyen. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady? Yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes. So that passes 4-1 with the student board member voting yes. We are at the first interim financial report 2021. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees review the first interim report and certify the financial condition of the district as positive. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Rush, thank you. Second?
I second.
Ms. Nguyen, any discussion? Okay, I kind of skipped right over the presentation. I'm so sorry. I guess I'm in a hurry. Sorry about that, Mr. Hawkins. The board will receive a presentation on the first interim financial report. So would you be willing to do that for us at this time?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We're almost at good evening here. This is the our first, what is called our first interim report. If you could go to the next slide, please. What is important here is that the district provides a certification. Now, we self-certify, but then the Los Angeles County Office of Ed will review our financials and they will confirm our filing status. Currently, we are positive. We are filing a positive status. That means that the district is able to meet its financial obligations for the remainder of this fiscal year and the next 2 fiscal years. Next slide. Want to show what is important and for us in the finance world is our ADA. That's our average daily attendance. That's what we get paid on. You can see historically down to 2017 was where we had our low at about 19,561. Then in the next year, we came up to 19,670. And the next 3 years out, we're estimating about 19,691. What's important here is that we're showing a very small increase because it's too early this year to finalize a projection. Although we are running over 300 students above the same number we had at the same time last year, which is extremely positive. But for right now, we're keeping the ADA flat in all of our projections so we can be fiscally conservative with our estimates. Next slide. As of the end of October, we believe our revenues will total $321 million. That includes both our restricted and our unrestricted. Currently, our unrestricted funds are about 237 million. Our restricted funds are projected this year to be at 83 million. If you look at the next 2 years, you'll see the average is closer to $48 million. The difference is the COVID money that we have received and have spent a significant portion of already. We anticipate receiving about $29,447,000 in COVID relief money. As of the end of this month, December 30th, we are required by the federal government to have spent $21,066,000, and we are on a projection to do just that. But so you can see the difference in the next 2 years' estimates decrease significantly because we do not expect to receive any additional COVID money. There is legislation that may do that, but as of right now, it hasn't passed, so I can't put it in our slides. I mean, I can't budget for it at this time. Next slide, please. If we look at our LCFF funding profile, this is our unrestricted funds. So it does not include any of those COVID dollars that I mentioned earlier. If we look at this and start at the lower right-hand corner, you can see our adjusted base grant is $188 million. This is this funding pays for all of our operations of the district. Then we look up above that for supplemental concentration. It's actually what we call our targeted funding. So that's what we have for targeting for our students to assist in their education. Then we get a small add-on of about 1.9 million, which is for home to school transportation, which doesn't come close to covering the cost. Next slide, please. In this particular year, we're going to have our total expenses will exceed $316 million. If we look at how we spend our dollars, we spend 71% or 71 cents of every dollar goes to salaries for employees and benefits. Now, due to the extra COVID funding we received this year, that little over 29 million, it really changes the percentages off this year. Normally, we're about 7 percentage points higher. We do expect to equalize the percentages more normal in the out years. Now, this does include both of our both full programs of our restricted. Restricted funds are going to be not only the COVID, but things like our Title I expenditures and our unrestricted portion, which is the amount I showed on the prior slide. Next slide, please. We are estimating our ending balance for this year. We're showing that we will meet our 3% reserve, that we will have a carryover of approximately $11.5 million of targeted funds. And that's just simply because there is a lot of professional development and a lot of other things we normally spend our targeted funds on that we're not able to because of the pandemic situation we're in. Next slide, please. As we look at our multi-year budget projections, there's a lot of factors that go into that. Key enrollment's going to be, key factors are enrollment, attendance. So not only having students enrolled, but having them attend. And our staff has done an excellent job at engaging our students so our attendance rate is at or better than the average. Then we look at our unduplicated pupil percentage count. That's what drives for our targeted or that supplemental concentration grant money. Then we look at our cost increases over the next couple of years, and then we have to factor in that last item there of the slowing economy. How's that going to affect the state, and how is it going to affect the state in what they budget for education, which directly affects us in what our revenue projections are. Next slide, please. Here we look at our multi-year projections, and we have some deficit spending that is planned. First of all, we've received a lot of COVID money this year, and we won't spend it all. Second, we have carryover of our targeted or that supplemental concentration money that we will be spending out in the future years. So we don't receive the revenue, but we will have the expenses, but we have it in our ending balance. And we have projected no revenue growth for COLA, for ADA, or our other governmental programs until we have a better idea of what our ADA is going to be. Like I said earlier, we're currently have over 300 students more as of last Friday than we did at the same last Friday last year. So that's an extremely positive moving forward, and we still meet all of the goals, the fiscal and the fiduciary responsible goals for the district to maintain our operation. Next slide, please. And I would be happy to answer any questions regarding our first interim report.
Thank you, Mr.
Ms.
Hawkins. Appreciate it. Go ahead.
This is Danita Wynn. Mr. Hawkins, I wanted to thank you for your invitation to come and go over the budgets. I hope that door is open in the future because I know I'll have more questions to ask. Thank you.
Absolutely, anytime.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, this is Dr. Ruffin. Dr. Vieira, could you make sure that your cabinet gets the presentation to the board so that we can review it before the board meeting, please? Thank you.
When those are prepared and ready to go out, they'll be sent out.
Okay, thank you. I'll pull us back in. We are.
I'm not finished. I'm not finished, Mrs. McGrady. Thank you. Dr. Vieira, do you know when that would be so that we're able to govern appropriately in the future? I understand that 72 hours is appropriate time to notify the community about the board meetings. And even if it's the day before the board meeting, we didn't have a chance to review it. It's electronically. I don't have a problem printing it from my home. Thank you.
Just to be clear, though, the first interim report was provided 72 hours before. It wasn't this specific presentation right here. This one right here was completed this morning. It was drafted as late as last night, but as soon as those are ready at your request, they will be sent out to the board.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's pull us back in. We have a motion by Mr. Rush and a second by Ms. Wynn. We are getting ready to certify the financial condition as positive. Do we have any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin? Dr. Ruffin, how do you vote?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady, yes. Ms. Wynn?
Yes.
Yes, so that passes 4-1 with the student board member voting yes. We are at G. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the budget overview for parents report as presented. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Rush, thank you. Second?
Second.
Is that Ms. Wynn?
Yes, it is.
Yes, thank you.
Miss
Any discussion?
McGrady, I don't see this as a for a vote on here. It didn't say it.
We're on G. We are voting.
I see it, but it doesn't have it on the agenda as a vote. I didn't see it. I'm looking at it. It doesn't see it. It's not noted in here for a vote.
This is actually item H. No, I'm sorry, it's
Are we on G or H? Because H it says vote and G doesn't have anything to vote on.
We're on item G and it does call for a vote.
And the agenda doesn't say, it's not marked for a vote at the bottom, so.
I'm not sure what you're looking at. It does call for a vote.
Well, what I'm looking at on what was given to the, this is not,
okay. Do you have any discussion about it? Do you have any discussion about it? Any comments?
I'm asking for clarification, Ms. McGrady.
Okay.
I'm just saying what I'm looking at here.
Okay.
When I went over it, I'm just having a discussion with the board. When I went over it and I'm looking, I did not mark it down for a vote because the way that it's presented in our agenda, it did not present that it was looking for a vote.
Okay. Calling for the vote. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Sorry, I vote aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
I'm gonna abstain.
Nothing. I think that would be a no. Mr. Rush?
I said abstain.
Abstain. Okay. You have to get a little closer to your microphone, please. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. McGrady says yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So that's a 4-1 passes with the student board member voting yes. We are now at H. It is recommended that the
Miss
Board of
McGrady, I'm
Trustees-
sorry, this is Jake Furno. It's actually a 3-1 with an abstention.
I'm sorry, it was, yes, it's it was a 4 with an abstention, correct? And I said.
It was, I'm sorry, but there was an abstention. That's all, sorry.
Okay, yeah, so it was but I missed sorry, excuse me. Okay, we got that. So it's 4 yeses, 1 abstention, and Mr. Johnson voted yes, correct? Okay, thank you. You got to, it takes a village. Okay, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 2020-21-13, certification of signatures. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Rush, thank you. A second?
I second.
Thank you. That's Ms. Nguyen. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady is a yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes. So this one is a 4, it passes with 4 yeses, 1 no, with Mr. Johnson voting yes. We are at 9A, approve agreement for legal services between Antelope Valley Union High School District and Fagan Friedman and Full Frost LLP. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the agreement for legal services between the Antelope Valley Union High School District and Fagan Friedman and Full Frost LLP. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Rush, thank you. Second?
I second.
That's Ms. Nguyen. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Yes, no, there is discussion. I want to put it for the record that since July 1st, 2020, that this board has not had a contract with Fagan Friedman and Full Frost. So it has been 6 months since this district has not had a contract with Fagan Friedman and Full Frost. And they've been getting paid.
Okay. Any further discussion? Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
No.
No. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady votes yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Aye.
Aye. So that passes with a 3-2 vote with a student board member voting yes. We are at B. I believe we had a message from the community.
Yes, there's one public comment on 9B this evening. The comment is from Tina Bro. When the board voted to approve the use of Zatarain to investigate whether a board member, a volunteer, and an employee violated laws or district policies, I felt that the board had reached a new low. I hope that the district didn't spend any money on this investigation and would be interested to know if anything was spent. If money was spent on a frivolous investigation, Dr. Ruffin and Ms. Perrell should forfeit their board stipends for the rest of their terms or until the district is reimbursed for this waste of funds. I want to congratulate Ms. Nguyen on her election to the board. Thank you for running again and your unwavering commitment to the students and staff of this district. It is so fitting that you fill the vacancy created when the mastermind to the madness of the last 2 years left under suspicious circumstances. I trust that you will right the wrongs of the past.
Thank you. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees terminate the investigative services agreement with Armando Zatarain Investigations, Direct Contract Officer Superintendent David J. Vieira to provide Armando Zatarain Investigations written notice that the contract has been terminated, and further direct Armando Zatarain Investigations to provide all documents and materials prepared by Armando's Adirene investigations and the performance of the contract to Contract Officer Superintendent David J. Vieira. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. A second? I'll second it. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
No.
No. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. And Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. And Ms. McGrady votes yes. And Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes. So this one passes with 4 yeses, 1 no, and Mr. Johnson votes yes. We are at C. We have one message from the community, I believe.
Yes, there's one public comment from Stacy Height. I would like to thank the current board for bringing forward this agenda item to put an end to the district's nightmare relationship with John W. Harris and Associates. I'm curious as to how Ruffin and Perrell will vote on this item. This firm has done nothing but waste tax dollars by suckering Davis, Ruffin, and Perrell into believing that they were school attorneys. Harris's arrogance and disrespect for our community was obvious from the beginning. Attorney Harris had the nerve to show up for his first meeting and take a long nap right in front of everyone. Talk about making a first impression. Attorney Harris continued to make his mark by showing a lack of respect to board member Jill McGrady and failing miserably when he tried to argue with former counsel Bridget Cook over the website contract with Ruffin's friends. Harris has charged rates that are higher than F3, which is a real education law firm. He has not been authorized to do any work for a year since Bob Davis resigned, yet he keeps on billing. This isn't the first time he's overbilled a client, and I'm so glad it stops here in the AV. If the decisions that Davis, Ruffin, and Perrell made in 2019 were based on his advice, we know that he is not good at what he does. I would like the board to direct staff to make a public report of the cost of all attorneys' fees that were billed, paid, or unpaid by the district to Harris, F3, and AALRR from December 2018 through December 2020. I'd also like to see the fees that were paid by the district to F3 for December 2016 through December 2018. I'm sure that it will show the district has spent more on legal fees since Perrell and Ruffin came on the board and nothing good came of it. I also ask that the board report Harris and Associates to the California Bar for racking up bills when he knew full well he was not authorized to do work for the district. He has been serving as a personal attorney for Ruffin and Perrell, not the board. Don't pay his bills. Make them pay for the work he did for them because he certainly didn't do anything to benefit the district or students.
Thank you. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees terminate the professional services agreement between Antelope Valley Union High School District and Harris and Associates and direct Superintendent David J. Vieira to provide written notice to Harris and Associates that the agreement has been terminated and further direct Harris and Associates to deliver the district's files and property in Harris and Associates possession and any outstanding legal work and services to Superintendent David J. Vieira. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. A second?
Second.
And that was
Dr. Ruffin.
Dr. Ruffin. Okay. Any discussion?
Yes. So Mr. Harris actually resigned from the board the other day. And the decision to bring on Harris and Associates came about from new board members attending CSBA and other California board meetings as new board members in 2018. The advisement was for not only this current legal counsel, but all legal counsel for the Antelope Valley Union High School District is any counsel for any school district. When you first come in is to do an audit, which our school district has been remiss of exposing any audits of our school district. The other advice that we got for our school district was any relationships that are over 7 years or over 8 years are considered to be improper. So the fact that Fagan Friedman and Full Frost, who, by the way, I have the utmost respect for Howard Full Frost, who is one of the owners of Fagan Friedman and Full Frost. I have the utmost respect for several of the attorneys in Fagan Friedman and Full Frost. I think it is a very reputable law firm. This has nothing to do with the law firm in and of itself. It has to do with the improper relationship that Mr. Fernald has with our superintendent and their ability to be transparent with the taxpayers' monies and the business of being able to fully show an audit. They've been totally against that. So let me just be very clear. The business of being able to choose a different attorney or a company has nothing to do with Fagan Friedman and Full Frost. It's just the business of giving a school district. The problem with the Antelope Valley Union High School District is one of the people in the district, and not all, it's just a few bad actors, feel like the Antelope Valley Union High School District is their own personal family company. And that's not what it is. It's supposed to be a diversified unit that is a representation of all of the people in the Antelope Valley. So I have no regrets for bringing in an outsider to come in. Harrison Associates is an outstanding attorney. Anybody can go look up their information. He just won a $3-point-something million case in San Diego. You've already gone and looked up his law firm, and he has no scratches on his bar affiliation. He's been doing this work for 40-something years. His attack is no different from my attack as a Black woman on this board, as the first African-American woman on this board. I've been attacked since I first came on this board. I was asked as an African-American woman, the first African-American woman elected to this board, to take a drug test. I was the only one. My non-Black colleagues on this board were not asked to do that. And because I spoke up, and because I continue to speak up against these illegal and unethical practices, just like I did in Oxnard, I've been attacked, I've been marginalized, and I've been discriminated against. So I do stand up for people like Mr. Harris and like myself. So I welcome his resignation, and I welcome any attorney group, just like AALRR, who we welcomed to back a year ago and gave them $250,000 to stand in place of F3. So this is why those decisions were made. It has absolutely nothing to do with F3. They're an outstanding legal company. This has to do with being able to make decisions that do not merit your friendship. Because Dr. Vieira said himself, he's been friends with this attorney for 25 years. So if we're really going to be transparent, let's talk about that transparency. And I rest.
Thank you. I really feel like I need to move on, but I do have to answer a couple of those things. We do an audit every single year. It's the law. We have to do an audit. You continue to spout that we do not do an audit. We do one every year. CSBA, when you first said that you heard this at CSBA, I checked, and they checked with every instructor that year, and no one told you to get an attorney for the board. They do not advise us to do that. But here we are. So I think that we pretty well handled the discussion. Does anybody else have anything they want to add to this?
Mrs. McGrady, I'm gonna say this. Sure. I can provide who I spoke to, and this is a part of, I'm a 23-year professional.
We've had this discussion before. When we first did this, I asked you for that name, and you never brought it forward.
Mrs. McGrady, let me finish. Mrs. McGrady, let me finish, because you're not my parent, and I deserve a right to be a professional and a trustee here. To finish, I am going to continue to do my due diligence with the DA's office and the grand jury. And like I just said, I am resting. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
No.
No. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. And Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady is a yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes. So this passes with 4 yeses, 1 no, and Mr. Johnson votes yes. We are at the consent agenda. Would anyone, let's see, actions proposed for the consent agenda are items consistent with adopted policies and approved practices of the district and are deemed routine in nature. The board will be asked to approve all of the items in the consent agenda by a single vote unless any member of the board asks that an item be removed from the consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the items listed in the following consent agendas categories: educational services, student services, personnel services, and business services as presented. May I have a motion?
Motion.
That was Dr. Ruffin.
Second.
Yes.
Okay, and that was Mr. Rush. Do we have any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to pull the following. (11B) Board
Say it
Bylaw.
again. Say it again.
11B Board Bylaw 9320 for a vote.
Okay.
11D Educational Services Approval of Agreement with Cafe Con Leche. 20202105 for a vote. I would like to pull purchase order 2102082 Chromebook carts. I would like to pull 2102204 Fagan Friedman and Full Frost. $66,776 for a vote. And finally, I would like to pull for discussion the Antelope Valley Field Trip CIF.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to pull?
Mrs. McGrady, there is one public comment on 11B.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yes, I just jumped right over that. Okay, could we hear that?
Sure. The comment is from Monica Dobson on, again, 11C. Members 4 and 5 have refused to go into closed session for a year, which has had a negative impact on the board's ability to get things done, and we don't know the full impact of what that is yet and may not know for years to come. The board is doing a great thing here by not letting these women get paid when they are not doing the job they were elected to do. I want to make a suggestion for a few extra words for the new policy. The new policy says, in order to receive compensation for any board meeting, board members shall be present for the complete meeting. Can you add including closed session so that it's clear in case Perrell and Ruffin continue to boycott closed session when one of the other 3 members are absent? It will be interesting to see if they attend closed session now that their presence is a non-factor when the other 3 members are present. The new policy says the benefits of board members shall not be greater than the most generous schedule of benefits being received by any category of non-safety employees. What is meant by non-safety employees? Last question, what is the current monthly rate of compensation for each board member?
Okay, thank you. So Dr. Ruffin, just let me review. We're pulling 11B, C, and D, and 3 purchase orders. And the last,
I didn't ask for C. Are you pulling C? I said 11B, D.
Okay, I'm sorry, 11B and 11D.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and those are for votes or for discussion?
11B as in boy is for a vote. 11D as in David is for a vote.
Okay, and your purchase orders, are they for votes or discussion?
The purchase order 2102204, Fagan, Freeman, and Fulfrost is for vote. Purchase order 2102082 is for discussion.
Okay, so as I understand it, you have 2 for discussion and 3 for votes. Let's do the discussions and then we can vote on the agenda, and then we'll come back and do the ones that were our separate votes. So the first one would be your purchase order. That's, I believe you said 2102082. And this is for discussion. So take it away.
Chromebooks 2102082 for the Chromebooks for discussion.
Okay.
I'm not sure where we are with technology purchase or how much more we need to purchase. And this one is for Quartz Hills High School, but I'm certain that Pete Knight High School and Little Rock High School, from what I'm hearing from parents and their students complaining about their Chromebooks, they appear to be still in need. So can we get some updates on where we are? Because that amount is $140,000 for this Chromebook purchase for Quartz Hills.
So Dr. Ruffin, this is Greg, and I can respond to that. We have received the final shipment of the 10,000 Chromebooks that we ordered back in October, and those have been distributed to the sites. If anybody is having issues with a current Chromebook or needs a Chromebook, please ask them to contact their site. We have plenty on each of our sites to switch out. And this particular order is to replenish Chromebooks that were pulled off of sites, and each site is ordering those individually, but to replenish site Chromebooks that were pulled off of sites last spring, taken from Chromebook cards from classrooms to make sure that all students had connectivity.
Okay, thank you so much. Because there was also another one for $150,000, but it didn't say which school, so I didn't pull that one. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we could put that one back. And then the last one was the one on the field trips. That was for discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
I see that there's $20,000. I know that CIF just came out and said that with the surge in the pandemic in LA County, they're estimating that every 20 minutes that someone within LA County is contracting the COVID-19. And I see here that we have $20,000 that is slated for field trips. And I know that, I understand that sports is very important to our community. I was an All-American athlete. I was a coach myself. I believe that this is critical for our community, but I also know that we've lost several people within the Antelope Valley from COVID-19. And I also know that as our kids engage in these sports, that this is a heavy burden for us as a district to try to bear. And these kids, these students are going to be passing saliva. We don't even know how people are contracting COVID-19. And I see here $20,000 that's slated for field trips for volleyball, cross country, when the CIF has put this on hold. So I don't know what our plan is for this.
If I might, Dr. Ruffin, this is for scheduling purposes, and we make adjustments as the CIF changes. So for example, last board meeting, or 2 board meetings ago, I think we had some sports set up for December. Those have since been canceled. And this is mostly for planning purposes, so we can make sure that the AVSTA has the drivers and buses available, should we be able to. But right now, with the CIF, exactly as the way you stated it, their schedule has not been confirmed. So these will not happen unless the CIF and the Department of Health allows it. But this is purely for scheduling purposes.
Okay, it's just a holding pattern.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'd like to suggest then that we put those back in, we've discussed them, and we vote on the consent agenda minus the 11B and D and the one purchase order. Is that acceptable to everyone? Okay, I would say that, let's see, where are we with it? We have a motion in place. We have a second. So we are voting on the consent agenda minus 11B and D and the one purchase order. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
This is on the consent agenda.
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush? Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. McGrady is a yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Aye.
Aye. So that passes 5-0 with the student board member voting yes. So now we are at 11B, Educational Services, adopt proposed revisions to board bylaw 9320, meetings and notices. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes, we did not consider that we were only given one option for the calendar. So we were not given 2 different days. And if you look at board bylaw 9320 under regular meetings, it says, regular meetings shall be held at 5 p.m. on the first and third Wednesdays. So are we meeting on the first Wednesday or the third Wednesday?
Actually, I believe what we're doing is taking it back to where it was, how the bylaw read, what the bylaw read before the board majority changed it a year ago. So what we are actually doing is putting it back where we are, and then each year the sitting board votes on a calendar for that year. And they do have the option of being able to choose the calendar unless we don't have a majority. And then it would
Miss McGrady,
back to the bylaw.
Miss McGrady.
Yes, ma'am.
Right now, under this bylaw, it says proposed revision, December the 11th, 2020. This is what we voted on today. This body, this board needs to decide, are we going to do it the first or the third Wednesday? That is what I'm asking.
We have already voted on the calendar for this next year. It's already been voted on. This is for the bylaw that will cover if we ever get in this situation again where we have people who are not allow us to vote on a date. You remember we went till March last year trying to get a calendar. This will default back. It says right in there, except as adopted by the Board of Trustees at the annual reorganizational meeting, which is what we did this evening.
Yes, and what I'm saying to you is,
yes,
we did that, but we do not have 2 separate days that we're meeting on. Are we going to meet? We're only meeting once a month. So we did adopt the calendar. The calendar says we're meeting on 1 day a month. So are we? Which Wednesday are we meeting on? Are we meeting on the first Wednesday? Are we meeting on the third Wednesday of the month?
Are you looking at the bylaw?
Yes, I am.
Okay, it says the board shall hold 2 regular meetings each month, okay? Then it says, except as adopted by the Board of Trustees at the annual reorganization meeting. That's what we did this evening.
Right, and then the next sentence says, regular meetings shall be held at 5 p.m. on the, which one? First and third Wednesday. So are we meeting on the first Wednesday or are we meeting on the third Wednesday? That's my question.
Well, actually, if you look at the calendar that we voted on and approved this evening, some of the Wednesdays are not either the first or the third. I think.
So that's what I'm saying. There needs to be a correction to this. That's all I'm trying to get us to see.
Okay.
That there's not an alignment.
There isn't. And part of that is because vacations, spring break, Thanksgiving, Christmas, when budgets have to be turned in, and there are a lot of other things, factors involved. And so this is the calendar that we voted on. Now, I think.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question about the calendar? Yeah, I'd like to ask a question about the calendar. So we've approved the calendar for the rest of the year. And the only time this would go into effect would be next December if we could not agree at the next year on a calendar at our meeting. Then it would automatically go to the first and third Wednesdays of the month. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So what we voted on today is in place. That's already in place.
Yes.
This is just for the annual reorg meeting, in case we don't come up with a calendar at the reorg meeting. It reverts back to there. Okay.
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
Okay, so because, and I should have done this before we started talking, we need to get a motion and a second to, should have done that to discuss it. So I need a motion.
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. A second?
Second.
Thank you. That's Dr. Ruffin. Okay, and then we can finish discussing. Does anybody else have a comment to make about it?
Yeah, I'm gonna, I move that there is more clarity to what you're saying because what you're actually saying is not what's written in the bylaw, Ms. McGrady.
Okay,
it's an assumption, but it's not clear to me.
I know, I don't know that I can help. Okay, Dr. Vieira is going to try to help.
Let me make a couple comments here. So the action was taken a little bit earlier this evening, specifically with regards to the calendar for the regular board meetings from January of 2021 until through December. And they are a little bit unique for the remainder of this school year through May. And then we have 2 in June. And then we revert to the second Wednesday of the month for the rest of that year, 2021 year. So that's one item right there. That's the calendar of regular board meetings from January of 21 until December of 21. That's in place. The second item that we had here a little bit later was specifically a revision or a proposal for a revision on our board bylaw 9320, which reflects that the board is considering in the board bylaw to change the regular meetings to 5 p.m. on the first and third Wednesday. I think where there's some confusion is that first sentence where it talks about regular meetings. It says the board shall hold 2 regular meetings each month. In this revised board bylaw, that would be the first and third Wednesday of those of each month at 5 p.m. But that second sentence reads, except as adopted by the Board of Trustees at the annual reorg meeting. Tonight is the annual reorg meeting. The calendar was adopted, so it is in alignment with this proposed board policy that would just revise the days from the second and fourth Thursday at 7 o'clock to the first and third Wednesday at 5 o'clock.
Okay, any other questions? All right, Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
This is for the item that was in the consent agenda, correct?
Yes, it is that we are proposing to change the bylaw back to Wednesdays, the first and third Wednesdays. Right now it reads the second and fourth Thursdays at 7 o'clock. So if the board ever had to default back to that, it would default back to the second and fourth Thursdays at 7 o'clock. We're trying to change it back to the first and third Wednesday at 5 o'clock.
Thank you. I vote aye.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, let me get my order of votes. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Wait, I'm just trying to process what Dr. Vieira just said. I'm gonna,
Well, while you're thinking, I'll go ahead and get the other votes and come back to you while you're
Yes.
thinking. Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Aye. I vote yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes. And Dr. Ruffin?
Ms. McGrady, I'm gonna abstain because I just don't understand what he said.
Okay.
I'm not against the time. I just don't understand.
Okay.
I just don't understand it. So I'm just gonna
Okay.
abstain.
That is one of the reasons you can abstain if you don't have enough information to help you do that. So it passes with 4 ayes, 1 abstention, and the student board member voted yes. So now we go to 11D. This is the Educational Services Approval of Agreement with Cafe Con Leche. I need a motion.
Motion.
That's Dr. Ruffin. Second?
Second.
I second.
Okay, that would be Mr. Rush. Okay, and now we can open it up for discussion.
Okay, so I think I have the same issue that I brought up before with the conflict of interest from Board Bylaw 9270 and California Code 1090 for the same reasons of personal interest with Mrs. McGrady and Trustee Nguyen. It was brought to the attention that both of you guys used the vendor during your campaigning by going on her network, for example. This is to solicit your campaigns. This is an example of a quid pro quo, and now we're hiring her on as a vendor. The California Code 1090 specifically prohibits public officials and public employees from making public contracts in which they have a financial interest. When the public official with prescribed financial interest is a member of a public body or a board, this means even if the board member discloses his or her financial interest, it could disqualify them from voting on this matter. The remaining board members, all of us who still here, are prohibited from entering into a contract that's in question. Thus, this contract, if approved under these circumstances, are void and unenforceable, even if financial interest of the member refrains from participating in making the contract.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay.
Dr. Actually, this is Janita Nguyen. May I have opinion from Mr. Furno, please?
Yes, same response, Ms. Nguyen, is that the government code section that Dr. Ruffin is citing to just doesn't apply to this situation. There's no financial interest that I'm aware of that any board members are going to receive by approving this contract.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I do have one comment. And I can remember, of course, I'm probably going to refer to the years that I was previously, but Cafe Con Leche is a medium for people to reach out, especially to our Hispanic community, as well as to the rest of the Antelope Valley. And I've heard many people quite disappointed in the fact that the vote was to cancel the contract with Cafe Con Leche. And because that's an avenue that they use to get information. The high school district is often invited to be on that program and talk to issues that are important to the communities. And I've always heard Lilia Galindo tries very hard to make sure that the community is informed, and she tries as hard as she can to make sure that people are informed as best as that can be. Dr. Anthony Martinez, who was an employee of the high school district for a number of years, often went on Cafe Con Leche, and was his information that he relayed to the community was very much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or just any further discussion? Okay, we are voting to approve the agreement with Cafe Con Leche. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
No.
No. Dr. Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady? Yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes. So it passes 3-2 with the student board member voting yes. And we are at your final one. This is, I'll let you give the number again. Dr.
I didn't have any more. That was it.
Okay. You actually pulled one more. You pulled a 210-2024 from the direct pay.
Oh yeah, oh yes, the Fagan, Freeman, and Full Frost. Sorry.
Yep, I pulled it out, so it hadn't been voted on.
Yes, thank you. Sorry about that. So Fagan, Freeman, and Full Frost for $66,776. I want to vote on this. Did you already ask for the first and the?
No, I did not. Thank you. We need a motion to get it on the floor.
I move that we. Thank you.
Oh,
second.
So that was Mr. Rush.
Second.
Did you make the motion? We're having sound problems here. I can't hear who made the motion.
Rush motion. I second.
Okay. Rush made it. Ruffin second. Okay.
I want to vote on this and note for the record that during this time from July 1st, 2020 and until today, the F3 did not legally have a binding contract with the Antelope Valley Union High School District, and they were being paid by Dr. Vieira and the board without board approval.
I'd just like to make a comment here, just to be clear as well, is that the only dollars or the only expenditures that were made were those that were approved by the board, which took place, I know that the last 2 board meetings. And as I stated prior, there's no legal requirement that vendors must have an existing contract to perform services for the district. But again, however, the vendor risks not receiving payment. But the board did approve payment for F3.
Okay, any other comments?
So I just wanted to clarify. So Dr. Vieira, you said that there's no legal requirement for vendors to have a contract?
That's what I stated.
Okay.
Okay.
And again, to finish that the vendor risks not receiving payment. And again, the payment for F3 has been on the PO schedule as an invoice number as it is tonight. It has been approved by the board.
Okay, so we are voting to approve to pay the F3 for the work that they have done for us. And actually, it was a fairly extensive list. So I guess, Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
No.
No. And Ruffin?
No.
No. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. And Mrs. McGrady is a yes. And Ms. Nguyen? Ms. Nguyen, how do you vote?
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes. It passes 3-2 with with a student board member voting yes. Okay, we are at 15 from the board and superintendent. Let's see. Let's start with Mr. Johnson. Do you have anything you'd like to share with us this evening?
I'll just say congratulations to Jill and Danita. I've spent quite a bit of time around both of them, and they're 2 individuals with incredible integrity. I have very much respect for them. And I'm optimistic for the future of this board. Happy holidays to our district family. I hope everyone enjoys their break.
Thank you. Ms. Perrell?
Yes, I just want to wish everyone a happy holidays and everyone be safe.
Thank you, Dr. Ruffin.
Yes. As we brace for this challenging and what some will consider a dark winter, I want to wish everyone happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah, and Merry Christmas to all. I know these are very trying times for our community. I hear in LA County that every 20 minutes someone is contracting COVID-19. We have heard of various hardships on our families locally, from battles with cabin fever to struggles with housing, job loss, grandparenting with technology, our teachers and counselors, nursing on the front line. So many courageous stories of our essential workers showing up for us every day. We thank you. I hope that this is time people are spending with your loved ones and your family, and that we are all staying safe and well, finding joy in the small things in life. And an attitude of gratitude has always been the thing that has determined my altitude. And as we climb our individual mountains, I am reminded that George Bernard Shaw said, "Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything." Just know that I came to serve. I'm a Black woman, and I'm the first African-American woman elected to this board. I was not embraced from the first day that I came to this board. I come with 23 years invested in education, in social justice, in serving students. I've spent my entire life for this work, and I would do it for free because I am not afraid to call out the unethical and the illegal practices of this board or districts. I have been retaliated against. I have been marginalized. I have been discriminated against and not treated like my white counterparts on this board or even in Oxnard for that matter. And I know that there are a few bad actors out there that do not speak for the good people, the amazing students, the outstanding students and educators who believe in public education, in the hard work that it takes to tear down the walls of racist cultures that want to silence a Black woman like myself, like Black people like me who only want to exist in our skin, in our fight for options like this for other people of color like myself who deserve the same equal access just to be. So I'm going to continue to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for those people who just want to be a part of equity. And I did. I came to serve, and I'm going to serve. I'm praying for our students. I'm praying for our community, and I'm praying for this board. Be safe and be well.
Thank you. Mr. Rush?
First of all, yeah, I would like to thank everybody for the great job that they've done this year so far with COVID. Everybody's really done an outstanding job. I'd like to say congratulations to Anthony Hunt. Thank you for sticking with us and making it happen. We knew it was just a matter of time. I think that what happened to you and what happened to Bridget were a big part of the driving force behind getting the two board members that we got elected and reelected back into positions so that we can right some of the wrongs that have happened. I appreciate all the employees that have done such a great job, and have a very nice holiday season.
Thank you. Ms. Nguyen? Danita Nguyen?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I do have a couple of comments. Having a little bit of trouble with my mute and unmute button, but I think I've got it now. I I want to thank, oh gosh, so many people who saw a change that needed to happen and they fought for it. Not often in a lifetime do you get a chance to fight for a real change, and people did. I am honored and humbled by the support that I received from so many community members, and I strive to do the best that I possibly can to deserve your support. It feels good to be back, and I hope I don't refer too many times to what happened in the past, but there were some very good things that happened in the past and probably need to be brought up again, because that's the way we're headed. We're not going to dwell in some of the things that have happened that have taken the district in a different direction. Let's move forward. I'm anxious to do that, and I'm anxious to see everyone's faces, and hopefully not too distant future we'll be able to do that. I missed all of you, and I appreciate the work you do. I hope you all have a very happy holiday and a much deserved break, and looking forward to see you in 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and Happy Holidays to all of our employees, students, families, and our community. Please be safe as you celebrate this season with your families and friends. I'd like to take a moment to thank AVTA and CSEA for endorsing me in this election. I'm honored to have received the support of both of our labor unions. I thank you even more for your support these last 2 years, and of course your assistance in winning this race. I think also a big thank you goes out to the many labor unions who contributed in so many ways to the campaign. I'd like to thank the grassroots support I received. I would not have won it without your assistance. You helped take down signs, you handed out literature, you manned phone banks, you assisted with social media, you spoke to your family and friends. I've just never received support like this before, and I thank you. I'm humbled and I'm proud to be your representative. Thank you all. 2020 is coming to an end, thank goodness. It's been a difficult year for all of us. I believe I can honestly say it ranks right up there in my top worst year category. My family experienced many losses like many of you have. My oldest grandchild could not go through senior year activities. She was not able to graduate with her class, but she survived that. Early on in the pandemic, a family member passed away. We could not attend a funeral memorial service. And I know this has happened to many, many families in our district. For my family and so many others, this has been a difficult year. Families are experiencing the loss of income, their jobs, even their homes. It's just been a tough year all around. In our country, a vaccine has been approved and distribution will soon begin. The end of COVID could be hopefully in our sights. I want to believe we will soon have the virus in control and we will be going back to school. We at the Antelope Valley Union High School District have experienced some trying times in the last 2 years as well. However, we're starting a new year, a new beginning. The election's over. A new board member has joined us. Welcome back, Danita Nguyen. We're so happy to have you back on the board. This is a new year and it's a new time for our district. I would like to ask us as a board to begin to work together. We have 5 board members for a reason. In order to be the most effective board we can be, we need to attempt to work together for the good of our students. We were all elected to our various seats by the community. Please come to the table. Let's work together as representatives of our areas, our students, our employees, our parents, and our community. With that being said, let's get to work. 2021 is upon us. We have much to accomplish to make 2021 our best year ever. Happy holidays to all of you. And Dr. Vieira, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you. I'd just like to extend a warm welcome back to both Ms. McGrady and Mrs. Nguyen, who have both served on the Antelope Valley Union High School District Board for a number of years. And I would say I'm also looking forward to working with this board in its entirety with a newly inspired focus on our students, our staff, and with our community as well. I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a safe and prosperous New Year.
Okay, thank you. We will now adjourn to closed session. Could I have a motion?
Motion.
I believe that was Dr. Ruffin. A second?
Second.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Rush. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Johnson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Perrell?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady is a yes. Ms. Nguyen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. It passes 5-0 with the student. It passed with Mr. Johnson voting yes. So we will be going to closed session. We will be coming back when we get finished, but if you're not there, goodbye and happy holidays.
I'm gonna leave this meeting here. Make sure I'm out of it.
Yeah, a little bit.
We back in open session?
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. Everybody should be back in. I'm just double checking the roster here.
All right.
Can you hear me? Hello, testing, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
Thank you. Bear with us just a minute while we get everybody back on. Oh. Okay, looks like we are. This is the action to be reported out of closed session, regular meeting. During closed session, the board held a conference with labor negotiator, Mr. Brett Neal, regarding a certificated bargaining unit, classified bargaining unit, and an unrepresented group, and the board took no action. During closed session, the board considered a public employee discipline, dismissal, release, reassignment, non-reelect, and the board took no action. During closed session, the board discussed the performance evaluation of superintendent, and the board completed the superintendent's evaluation for
The board did not complete that evaluation.
2020 school year. During
The board did not complete that evaluation, Mrs. McGrady. That is not a truth.
It actually is true. During closed session, the board considered compromise and release agreement, STS 21054, and the board, on a motion by McGrady, seconded by Rush, voted 5-0 in favor.
Mrs. McGrady, this board did not even vote on that in closed session. You bulldozered over us. We did not even take a vote.
We voted 5-0. Each one of us voted. I guess we could ask the other board members who were there. We each voted.
I'm talking about the superintendent.
There was nothing to vote on. I handed him the completed evaluation.
Which was improper because we did not have a previous board closed session.
Okay, so we are at the end of closed session. We need a motion to adjourn. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Rush. A second? I'll second it. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Johnson is gone.
Yes, there is discussion. There is discussion. I would like to, for the record, I would like to document that in closed session, it was noted that this board member, Dr. Victoria Ruffin, during board meeting November 19th, 2020, there was not a closed session that was held. At that time, the superintendent did not have his evaluation evaluated during closed session. At that time, board member Dr. Victoria Ruffin was not offered an evaluation during closed session because I did not attend, nor was I offered at any other time an evaluation and given an opportunity to contribute to an evaluation. During this closed session meeting, Mrs. McGrady handed Dr. Vieira an evaluation saying that it had been tallied by the board.
Dr. Ruffin, this is Jay Furno. I just want to remind all board members
I'm documenting that for myself. I'm documenting that for myself, that this board did not vote on that.
A friendly reminder.
That this board did not vote on that.
We're trying to vote to adjourn. Ms. Perrell, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Dr. Ruffin?
I vote to adjourn.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. McGrady, yes. Ms. McGuinn?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we are adjourned. Goodbye.
Have a happy holiday, everybody.
Thank you, John. You as well.